Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tarot Tales. So today's Tarot Tales is Judgment. So I'm going to tell you a tale about judgment. So there was a man named Matthew. He grew up in a dysfunctional family full of violence and disharmony. He also grew up very, very poor, and so he didn't have a lot of resources or support for him to deal with these kind of issues that he was experiencing at home. So Matthew grew up resentful, just filled with a lot of anger and pain and rejection because he couldn't form good connections, being close with people. His connections were always filled with rejection, people rejecting him. And, he grew up with that kind of feeling of being rejected by everyone and just society in general. Time progressed in his life and he had isolated himself from everyone. He stopped dating. He just stood home and just to himself. He just felt like this was the way it was supposed to be, and how he was, that it was okay. He didn't see anything wrong with how he turned out to be, being from a very dysfunctional background. As time progressed, he found someone and they got together, they got married and had kids, but still the issues from his childhood bled into his marriage. So there was fighting going on. The relationship was very difficult. The wife and children were experiencing a lot of much of what he was experiencing on a very emotional and mental level. So they continued that way, and then one day his wife walked out on him and it hit him really hard, because then that's when he really started to realize that his way of being wasn't helping his life, and instead of him living a life of happiness and peace, it was continuing suffering and rejection and abandonment. So then he decided to really make the effort on really trying to undo these issues and pain that he was holding on for pretty much his whole life. So then he started to see a therapist and try to get the appropriate help, but then he realized that it was really difficult for him to move past these self-sabotage behaviors, because he had spent so long in being in a certain way that he realized that it was very difficult. And with that difficulty and trying to make the effort and making one step forward and two steps back, he started to feel really guilty and frustrated and desperate that he wasn't able to heal in the way that he wanted to. But with much trial and tribulation and trial by error, going to therapy, counseling, and him seeking out his own self-help methods, Matthew was actually able to find the cause of why he was acting the way that he was acting and just where the pain was really coming from. And he realized that it was from when he was a child. And so he started to do the work, and he started to relinquish that self-guilt, having more compassion towards himself, and most of all, learning to accept himself, to get rid of those feelings of rejection and abandonment that he had been experiencing for most of his life. So with the card of Judgment, so the lesson here about this card of today is about walking away from things that are no longer good for you, leaving behind old patterns and behaviors that are contributing to your illness and just steering you away from having a peaceful life. And it's also about letting go of regret and being able to transform and heal. It's very similar to like rising out of, problem and situations, almost like the phoenix, dying, being in a dark place and rising towards the light and abundance. As you see here, we have the angel blowing into the home with flowers, and just, we know that the angels blow beautiful music, and it's just walking out the doorway and undoing these old patterns and behaviors, because we have here with her, we have the snake. So we know that this is undoing, just shedding of old beliefs and old issues and self-sabotaging patterns that may have held us back in the same dark place of addiction and old habits. So that is today's tarot tale. And if you have a story that's similar, or you can relate to the Judgment card in your healing journey, feel free to share it in the comment box below. And if you appreciate these tarot tales, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And you can also join me on social media on Facebook and on Instagram at Palladian Star Healer. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for our next tarot tale. Bye.